Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another exciting Propagandacast from the host Imperial Dane, featuring today a 1 vs 1 on Kholodny Ferma. We shall be watching Sageofthesix fighting for the Soviet Union, fighting for the 320th Rifle Division, going up against Bosotora of the Wehrmacht's 157th Infantry Division. And we are noting here a 3 Pioneer starts. Obviously, he's not going for the Infantry Company anytime soon. This could perhaps indicate a rush for the 2nd tier and whatever awaits there, with also noting assault support, Jaeger armor, and Spearhead Doctrine as the doctrines available, which only gives him 2 choices of a Tiger tank with fragmentation bombs.
Our forces increase.
We are, on the other hand, noting 1 conscript squad already on the way there for Sageofthesix. Combat engineers heading north, and of course with this sort of build, Bosotora will be able to gain sort of territory faster than Sageofthesix. On the other hand, he's going to have a bit of trouble actually holding any of that territory for the time being. And there we go, immediately tacking up, and immediately his first Pioneer squad here is coming under fire from Soviet infantry advancing with their hearts full of vengeance. And that's definitely going to cause the Pioneers already here some problems, as they're clearly not equipped nor numbering for such a task. There we go, already close to getting wiped out. Bosotora might once consider pulling the Pioneers out of there. Of course, at the same time, imagine his purpose is also to delay Sageofthesix, but he very much risks losing the Pioneer squad on the retreat. Second squad of conscripts arriving, and there we go, tacked up, but he's still going to need the fuel. And that is also what he's lacking in, since all of he's holding at the moment are strategic points, which rather means his fuel income will be a bit slow.
The enemy is attempting to steal our sector.
So there's going to be a bit of a delay, and he's going to in fact need 15, so a few more seconds. And there we go. Like the mechanized company can go up, and likely will. Not entirely sure why he's setting it up there. Would have thought he'd set it up as close to his own base as possible. But there you go. Going straight for the fuel points, in fact. Partly secure them, but of course also deny them temporarily, at least for Sageofthesix. Certainly not a bad plan. If you can't hold it, at least deny it. Conscripts continue to fight against Pioneers, although now they are suffering a bit more. The Pioneers might have a slight chance of actually overwhelming the conscripts if things go in their favour, particularly since the conscripts are actually up so close in the Pioneers' faces, which is not really where Sageofthesix wants to be placing his conscripts, but looks like the conscripts might pull through nonetheless, although just barely, very barely. There we go, like to mechanized company is on the way. Likely we'll be seeing the Panzer Grenadiers, and there we go, Pioneer squad wiped out. Why did it say 157th? Bugger that, we'll just say 18th Panzer Grenadier Division, since again we'll not be seeing any Grenadiers, so silly me, very, very silly me.
Taking small arms fire.
Pioneers rushing north, and once more the conscripts are engaged, and finally they're forced to retreat. Having valiantly fought off many Pioneer assaults, it ultimately became too much, and now Sageofthesix is running out his combat, and he's into range of the Pioneers. Now up to close range, that was definitely not very well thought out there by Sageofthesix. Pioneers will win in close quarters combat. So that was a bit awkwardly done there by Sageofthesix, although apparently he might just want to stall the fuel point, and I suppose he's willing to sacrifice his combat engineers for that very purpose. But I'm not going to claim it's perhaps the brightest of ideas or best. And there we go, down to 1 man. Yuri runs away, terror in his eyes.
You found something? Yes.
There we go, the first squad of Panzer Grenadiers. They could certainly gain the advantage rather quickly if utilized properly against the Bolsheviks.
To the fatherland. Pioneers ready for anything. Shoots in here. Enemy contact! It's even!
And there we go, already 1 conscript, 2 conscripts, Molotov locked in the path, well locked there, but ultimately though the Panzer Grenadiers just run through it this time around. No one of them was lugging around too much alcohol and was thus considerably more flammable than is what is good Another Molotov, and looks like actually Boris lit on fire. That's a bit unfortunate. Panzer Grenadiers though continue to fight on, already closing in on Veterans E1. The Sturmgewehrs tearing into the conscripts.
Contact!
And there we go, hit the dirt has been chosen, which could indicate either conscript tactics or conscript support. Or what's the name of the other one? Oh yes, guards rather combined arms. He could try and lob a bundle grenade, but at the same time he might want to pull back those Panzer Grenadiers for reinforcements, since their condition is not exactly the best one. There we go, another squad arriving. These Panzer Grenadiers just need to get out of there. Come on, Bosotora, they can't fight. But Bosotora tempts fate nonetheless. Gaining Veterans E1, but so close to death. And there we go, Molotov. Ach du lieber, Heinrich caught on fire. But Friedrich made it out.
Standing by.
And only one conscript left. Hit the dirt.
Pioneers awaiting orders.
And likely could go down if safe. And in fact, he wasn't very fortunate right there. And also looks like only two conscripts. We're also seeing the medic upgrade already up there for the regimental field headquarters, and we are seeing the support weapon company on the way, so we could perhaps be seeing some maximum machine gun support by field guns. And a medic bunker up in response as well from Bosotora, so both players are utilizing medics pretty early on. That's good, that is good.
The bunker is now a field hospital. The enemy has broken our supply
And there
lines.
we go, securing territory. Sageofthesix still holding most of the map. Again, the sort of strategy that Bosotora has employed has rather made it difficult for him to hold any territory, although Sageofthesix's lack of infantry is giving him some chance of actually coming back into the fight. Although again, we're also likely going to be expecting submachine guns soon for the conscripts, which of course is definitely going to increase the pressure on the Panzer Grenadiers, in particular if any of those conscript squads do hit Veterans E2, in which case they're actually going to be quite the match for the Panzer Grenadiers. And there we go, the first Maxim has arrived.
Infantry squad has been killed.
And another Pioneer squad went down, a tragic loss.
Medium armor
And already taking up,
is now available.
Bosotora speeding ahead, while his Panzer Grenadiers held up behind a wooden cart get suppressed.
Territory claim.
Securing the centre as well. Sageofthesix continues his aggressive play, and second Maxim machine gun arrives.
The enemy is taking our territory. You want something?
And we are noting that Bosotora is going to have a bit of trouble actually holding the map. In particular, as more units arrive for Sageofthesix, and Bosotora is spending most of his resources towards teching up and other things, not a lot towards resources and combat units. But there we go, a third squad of Panzer Grenadiers are on the way. Maxims push out now,
Is attempting to steal our
very
sector.
aggressively so.
Watch for counterattacks. Pioneers reporting objective captured.
And slow advances, slow advances.
Pioneers out of contact.
Pioneer squad might want to pull back.
We are losing a sector.
And there we go. I mean, Bosotora simply can't hold the map, so I suppose he's just for the time being resigned himself to just harassing Sageofthesix, but really he needs to shift things around soon, otherwise he's going to be losing very quickly. There we go, ambushing a squad of conscripts. But they're likely going to hit the dirt or just rush into the building. Either way, they're going to be much more difficult for the Panzer Grenadiers to deal with. And there we go, the Panzer Grenadiers find themselves under fire from the Maxim, perched on the hill above.
The enemy is taking our territory.
And Bosotora's Panzer Grenadiers running into a lot of trouble, and we're seeing the response is a flamethrower half-track most likely. At least the half-track is on the way, and he's definitely got the munitions for the flamethrower upgrade, so I'd be very surprised if that was not the decision. It probably could have been achieved a lot earlier than what actually he's doing at the moment.
Securing our territory.
So why he gets to this late is a bit of an oddity. Mechanized armor company being rushed here for Sageofthesix. He's definitely been holding most of the resources most of the time, so that should really not pose any problem. And there we go, the first submachine guns are being equipped now for his troops. The PPSH-41.
Enemy is attempting to steal our sector.
And Panzer is lopping a bundle grenade right there. The Maxim crew killing most of them, but not quite. Pioneers right behind. And there we go, Sonderkraftfahrzeug. 251. Mittlerer Schützenpanzerwagen. Pioneers doing what they can. Panzer Grenadiers down to one man. Can the Pioneers win this? Gaining veterancy too. Maxim crew dead. The Pioneers did it. And we are seeing Maxim setting up defensive positions in different houses. Mechanized armor company ready. And there we go, half-track on the way, getting upgraded with a flamethrower. Where Sageofthesix just continues to pressure onward, which is definitely also nice to see. Although he might want to consider mining some of all that territory a bit, to make it a bit harder for his opponent to do anything. At least that would be my suggestion. Flamethrower upgrade not even done yet. Small hit and run attack right there by Sageofthesix. He was clearly already expecting something vehicular, of course. It's already had the anti-tank grenades. Good move there, good move there. Another anti-tank grenade. And more conscripts bursting into flames. And we also see the Maxim right here ready to be recruited. In fact, that happens. Of course, you can easily just enforce the Pioneers there so swiftly and well done. And a quick move here to reinforce the Maxim as well. So that way, the 18th Panzer are going to just get the machine guns with a bit of aid from the Soviets. And there we go, an SU-76 out for Sageofthesix, immediately opening up with the Panzer Grenadiers. Barraging away. Oh, nasty hit right there. 5 Panzer Grenadiers gone in the blink of an eye. Almost gaining the assault gun veterans you won. And the half-track here could be the next target. There's nothing to actually protect it. And there we go, veterans you won for the assault gun. And no anti-tank weapons up for Bosotora. In fact, it's time to go to Sageofthesix. Let's go on for Guards Rifle Combined Arms. Conscripts advancing against the Maxim, but quickly hitting the dirt. And Sageofthesix would easily consider getting another SU-76 at the moment, and there's of course he fancies the SU-85. Maxim getting assaulted from several angles. And will it somehow make it out of there alive? Time will tell, but looks like it. Despite the presence of a lot of submachine gun equipped Soviets. The PPSH-41 also having probably one of the most long ranges of the submachine guns, most effective ranges for that matter. Which is also an interesting little fact. Pioneers company is trying to lay down mines. Aggressively so, also mining there. That is good, that is good. Well done there by Sageofthesix. Sadly though, nothing to cover there. And now of course Bosotora will have some idea that his opponent is laying down mines. But will he actually react to it? Quick Molotov here, bundle grenade in response. Conscripts suffer the heaviest, Panzer Grenadiers not at all. In fact, a squad of conscripts get wiped out. Sageofthesix was a bit too slow there. A bit too confident, perhaps. And a very close range bombardment of the Panzer Grenadiers. Closing in on veterancy too, but at the same time we do see a punch up. Kanona has arrived for Bosotora, going to try and hunt down that SU-76 most likely. Sageofthesix, of course, will need to be careful with it. It's an assault gun, not a tank. Which does mean it should be working in support with infantry, not on its own. I don't... Oh dear, he doesn't look like he's actually aware what's going on. He hasn't seen the pack, but the pack on the other hand has, and there we go, one shot, and second shot will take it out. There we go, SU-76 is a complete combat loss. A bit of a waste, and looks like another Maxim could be wiped out. There we go. Now that could be another Maxim for the German army, for the Reich. Also noting though, we are seeing fuel caches up. That's a good move by Sageofthesix, going to increase his fuel resources. Pack 40 crew most dead now, and a second SU-76 on the way. He's actually flooding a bit of resources. He could get an SU-85 or another SU-76. And the conscripts would recruit. The pack die as well to the fire. Perhaps a bit too effective of a Molotov. And there we go, the second SU-76 arrives, and there we go. Maxim recruit, but this time a bit more expensively by Panzer Grenadiers, not the Pioneers. Interesting. And trying to make a run with that pack once more, but getting stopped by Panzer Grenadiers who were about patrolling in the area. Well done. And that was that pack crew. And again, we're seeing him rushing ahead with his SU-76. He might want to begin being a bit more careful with that. On the other hand, if he has a chance of stopping that... Oh, half-track hits a mine! Gets abandoned! And recruiting the pack with Panzer Grenadiers is an expensive choice. And again, we see Sageofthesix rushing ahead of Sageofthesix without perhaps quite considering it. And he will, lose it. And he didn't even wreck the flame for a half-track, so there's a chance of Bosotora regaining it. Quite unfortunate that. I like the usage of the SU-76, but I think he needs to work a bit more on being careful with them, less rushing him like that. Of course, they are not that huge loss. Oh, Panzer Grenadier squad shouldn't have been moving out like that, but still, they're not that expensive. Only 160 manpower, 55 fuel, so definitely one of the cheaper things. On the other hand, that Panzer Grenadier squad is not going to be easy to replace. And there we go, half-track finally down. And veterancy free for these conscripts. That's definitely going to spell problems for the Germans, for the 18th Panzer Grenadier Division, which was actually shattered on the Eastern Front, but later reformed into division from a Panzer Brigade, which it didn't do alright. On the Eastern Front, I do believe that was in fact the 101st Panzer Brigade, which had fought in Army Group North. Or it was later changed into Army Group Nava. And a conscript squad getting a bit too close for their own health, but quickly hitting the dirt before the machine gun bunker here suppresses them. Swiftly and well done there by Sageofthesix. And a third SU-76 coming out. He's certainly consistent, you can't fault him for that. He just needs to be a bit more consistent with his unit preservation. Is all I would say. Panzer Grenadiers rushed off. Securing the munitions right there. Having the Maxim watch over the northern point. But at the same time, though, he has to be aware he might get flanked.
We have a new unit.
Since there's nothing else actually covering the flanks, but there we go, rushing ahead. And coming under fire from the Maxim. Maxim fire also involved here, but so is a Molotov. And the 30th SU-76 arrives, ready to support the conscripts, opening up with its barrage ability. The SU-76 also working as self-propelled artillery, but that was rather how the Soviets also used their assault guns. Also as, well, self-propelled artillery, meant for infantry support, was quite cheap to make as well. It's known as the Suchka, which apparently means something like little bitch.
Replacements have arrived.
Will there be an SU-85 anytime soon? It's certainly rare to see a Soviet player go that long without an SU-85. And there we go, Panzerkampfwagen out for Bosotora.
my sector.
Receiving some support from a nearby Panzer division. Apparently all the Stoogs are elsewhere.
Taking fucking fire!
Quickly hitting the dirt. And HQ-76 engaging the Maxim. Panzers though are working together in groups like nice. And Panzer IV pushing up the centre, but there is very little support, in particular no infantry support, only a pack. So that could prove lethal. SU-85 on the way. Mines going down there though, well done, well done. In fact, mining via the Rex. Clever work, Sageofthesix popping over to Bosotora. Panzer IV hunts in and sets off the mine. Splendid, splendid. Conscripts holding up down south, and there we go, Maxim crew is dead. SU-76 quickly took care of those.
Yes. 3.7786
And the church has become a bit of a fire target for the Panzer IV and the Panzerabwehrkanone. Both blasting away, mostly harming the church, but also occasionally actually killing one of the occupants. Conscripts making a direct run, SU-76 moving into support. And there we go, having hit the dirt, he's never going to be harder to deal with, but yeah, of course, has to be careful of other things. SU-85 arrives, about time. And finally, also playing a bit more defensively with his SU-76, that's good. Again, one has to remember it's not very durable.
Enemy forces are securing our territory.
Southern point falling, no doctrine as of yet, though, for Bosotora. Very far back, that SU-76 has been pulled. And no repairs for his Panzer IV. That really doesn't seem like a good idea. I'm not entirely sure what Sageofthesix is up to with the Sage-85 there, but nonetheless, moving ahead.
Taking automatic fire.
Come on, SU-85, turn on that Panzer IV, and there we go. One more hit, that's going to be good night. Or gute Nacht. Well, apparently not. SU-76 providing pressure from the north, and there we go, the Panzer IV is a total loss. No chance of recovery there, despite the Germans' fondness for doing that. In fact, they were so fond of it, in fact, the British decided to remark upon it during some of their experiences in North Africa, to the extent which the Germans would take to actually recover their own tanks. More approaches being mined there, that's nice. Pack is back at the front. Could we see the SU-76 being used artillery right about here? That would be nice. And a small assault here by a squad of conscripts trying to flank the Maxim did not quite work out. And we also see the Panzer Grenadiers ready to fire away with their Sturmgewehrs as well. But a Molotov might ruin the entire experience. Pressing towards the north. Point continues to tick down for the Reich. Another Panzer IV on the way. Pack here getting overwhelmed. The pressure continues. Sageofthesix relentlessly attacks over and over again. Northern victory point falling. You might want to pull up that Maxim to support a further push here. Make it harder for the Germans to counter-attack. Just a thought anyways. We know also use the SU-76. A bit more. And there we go, the conscripts are rushed away and are killed. Sageofthesix was a bit too slow to retreat. And a bit of a cough. A bit of quiet. Germans advancing all across the front, and this could prove to be dangerous for Bosotora, as it will mean splitting his troops up far out, which can make it very difficult for them to support each other. Already a squad of Veterancy Fleet Panzer Grenadiers, by the way, that's quite nasty. Definitely going to be a threat.
Taking our territory. Promotion received.
Looks like we are seeing Sageofthesix pulling back up to the hill. Might fire down here, but no, the Panzer Grenadiers are swift to retreat, realizing this could easily turn into a kill zone.
Enemy forces are securing our territory.
While Bosotora continues to fortify the centre now with the tanks. SU-85 rolls up, needs to be careful, A bit of artillery fire though from the Sageofthesix would definitely prove advantageous. And the Panzer IV this time around seems a bit swifter to retreat still. No doctrines. And there we go. Pack 40 under fire.
Taking automatic fire.
And a swift flank attempt here from Bosotora's Panzer Grenadiers ends up in tears as a Maxim opens up. Pressure continues to be applied all across the frontage. Panzer IV is going to be out for a bit.
Germany now holds to steal our sector.
Still no doctrine. Come on, Bosotora, make a choice. You're already back close to halfway into the game. You need something. Three conscripts holding out in the face of the Panzer Grenadier assault, but end up quickly retreating in the face of the considerably more veteran Panzer Grenadiers. The veterans of 3 Panzer Grenadiers are definitely some of the most vicious troops in the damn it, but with Veteran D2 they're already going to be one of the toughest units in games short of shock troopers, and with Veteran D3 they're definitely going to be tearing through a lot of things. But mortar half-track moving up. And so we're seeing the Spearhead Doctrine in usage a bit. Sometimes since I've actually seen that lately. Also gives some Panzer precision. That could definitely work well with its tanks as well. And looks like 2 Sageofthesixes now. Sageofthesix is actually laid down a very thick barrage of artillery. Very nice to see that. Continuing to make harassment attempts here on the fuel point. And looks like an airstrike's been called in some sort. There we go, Sturmovik moving in. Shredding the Panzer Grenadiers. Oh, the losses are horrific. And there we go, swift retreat. Mortar half-tech bombarding away, already killing 4 Soviets. Sageofthesix rolls up, but need to be careful, Sageofthesix seems to be rushing them again without much thought. Straight in front of the Panzer IV. Oh dear, this is not good. And there's a pack. And 1 Sageofthesix gets abandoned. And he didn't even get the half-track. Oh dear. That was definitely a bit of a bungled assault right there. But that really shouldn't have happened in the first place. He shouldn't have been rushing them in like that. So that was just basically poorly conceived. Unless there was some other target that I was not aware of. Or some other idea behind it. Which is certainly always a possibility from what I can perceive. It was an attack to get that mortar half-track. And it did not work out at all. Although the Panzer IV has moved ahead now. And opened itself up a sneak attack there from the H-85. And the H-85 blows the surprise by shooting up the ground right in front of the Panzer IV. That could have gone better. Fragmentation bombing runs also ready. Plenty of resources. You might want to spend that manpower on something. Perhaps a few fuel caches. And there you go. Both vehicles, Veterans 1. Right here, he should use Blitzkrieg and get behind the H-85. Or something like that. Popping smoke also works. But still, Blitzkrieg tactics, come on. Panzer IV was lost. Tragically so there by Bosotora. He should have used Blitzkrieg tactics, I feel. And there we go, another H-85 arriving. Which is definitely going to make it much more difficult for the Germans. And the front line has once more been pushed back for the Reich. Not looking good there. He should consider getting perhaps some Stuks. Get a few of them. Fragmentation bombing run. Going to see if we can't. Why on earth would he use it on that? I mean, even if it's a target of opportunity, it's still 180 munitions he's just spent trying to get a single combat engineer squad. Why not something a bit more, you know, valuable? That was a bit silly. All the veterans, half-tech close to Veterans 1, and looks like the H-86 is also ready to be secured in the name of the Reich. So there we go. A leichte Sturmgeschütz. leichte Selbstbeleite Artillerie.
Bastards are trying to kill us here.
Bosotora though needs to spend some all that manpower now. He needs to invest it towards something.
We are in a dangerous situation. 100 points.
Either fuel caches, packs, infantry, but something. He can't hang about with that much manpower doing nothing with it.
Stuka loaded to go with fragmentation bombs. What? Awaiting orders.
We need to kill that MT crew quick.
Awaiting orders.
Pioneers hammered in the centre.
Yes.
Panzergrenadiers moving down south. Points are rather low, in fact, for the Germans. No additional casualties up for Sageofthesix, by the way, and let's pop over to him and also let's have the mid-game analysis. Current situation is a bit not so good for the Germans. Again, they're floating an awful lot of resources, they're lacking a lot of armour, and for that matter, anything can deal with these Su-85s, partly due to Bosotora's mistakes. He needs to get those out of the way rather quick, and he also needs to provide further pressure on the flanks. But again, Su-85s need to go. He needs to consider getting up some more fuel caches to get some Stugs. I in fact suggest him getting several Stugs and then trying to overwhelm them through basically more raw power. That way, he's got a better chances there. Stugs does have a higher rate of fire, higher range than actually catching these 85s. It's either that or he has to take up 4 Panthers and then try to take them out that way. I don't really feel packs would be of much help here, so it's either that or Panzergrenadiers with Panzerschrecks, but there are so many Soviet machine guns covering the map that it could easily be locked down by Sageofthesix. But once he's gotten those 2 Su-85s on the way, he could easily then get some Panzer Force or Ostlands to then try and deal with the rest of Sageofthesix forces. But currently the nucleus are the Su-85s and they need to go. And again, Stugs I think would be a more efficient choice for that rather than Panzer Force in particular, since he can much quicker build up numbers. But for that, he does need more fuel, and for that he needs several fuel caches, and again he needs to spend resources. For Sageofthesix, it's about trying to keep the flanks clear. He's going to need some more infantry perhaps to help with that, although of course the Katyusha he's getting could help with that. Su-76 could also be helpful in harassing the German infantry, but something needs to be worked out, and he basically will need to keep up the pressure, and largely he will win this because already he's low on victory points. So let's return to the fight.
Enemy mortar!
Awaiting command.
HMG ready for action.
Mortar fire going down, Su-76 rolling up, church collapsing. Under intense artillery fire. Mortar veterans won, that's always nice. Causing quite a bit of damage. And there we go, the Katyusha arrives. Mines going down still for Sageofthesix, wonderful, wonderful.
We are losing territory.
And a nice assault going in towards the north. Conscripts with maximum support.
We have lost a machine gun crew.
But looks like one machine gun crew did go down.
We are taking losses.
Conscripts here, perhaps not so well done there, but Sageofthesix too close. Got wiped out by the Panzergrenadiers point blank. And still trying to move out the Maxim, which could result in getting overwhelmed by the Panzergrenadiers, although one conscript squad pushing in. Tries to perhaps occupy a few of the Panzergrenadiers' attention, but no, it's not enough. And it gets outmaneuvered. Quite unfortunate that. More Molotovs going off and actually light several of the Panzergrenadiers on fire.
Our points have fallen to 300.
I mean, it's quite an interesting strategy relying only on the Panzergrenadiers. Certainly it has its advantages, and already there we're seeing close to 50 kills on these gentlemen, but also there's clearly some flaws in this strategy. Again, that's partly due to the inability of getting enough ground early on in the game, which is rather than longer run, crippling Bosotora. Guards infantry actually arriving now, interesting move. Light machine guns on the way. And the Pat 40 being rolled up. Needs to be careful though. And there we go, a Molotov, Su-76 for some reason moving up. too close. Conscript securing the centre victory point, slowing down the loss. Well done. Sageofthesix moving up, but there's nothing coming because again he moved out the pack 40 too close. I really have no idea how he's operating with his pack 40s like that. And there we go, Veterancy to Su-85. Another Panzer IV rolls out, still no fuel caches, still plenty of manpower probably being wasted. Looks like another infantry squad went down somewhere. Probably in the centre though. And Katyusha 5, this building is about to collapse. But nothing was retreated from it, and there we go, Maxim, Veterancy 2, crew dead, pack wrecked. The losses are piling up for the 18th Panzergrenadier Division, but rather looks like he is refusing to shift tactics or strategy, which is never really a good sign. Of course, I could be wrong. But he needs those fuel caches. A fresh pack arrives from reserves. And a second Katyusha for Sageofthesix, though, who's actually quite low in infantry. So there is a chance right there for Bosotora to get back if he can overwhelm the remaining. It's going to make it very hard for the Su-85 to run around unsupported. In particular, a few Panzergrenadier squads were to be equipped with Panzer-6. He could actually do a lot of damage at the moment. The question is, will Bosotora strike upon that? Oh, he actually cancelled the Katyusha. Not what I expected. Not what I had expected. And then he builds it again. I have no idea what Sageofthesix is doing right now. That is a bit peculiar. Might want to be careful with this mortar half track, since that is the spot the Katyusha is bombarding. But things are a bit loose at the moment. Neither side really has a very coherent force. Additional Panzergrenadiers arriving. Bosotora perhaps finally expending all of that that manpower he's actually been saving up. But still no fuel caches. I'm rather disappointed in that. Rather disappointed.
Rocket launcher on the field.
I mean, Kameraden, how can you deny your panzers precious fuel?
Gun crew standing by.
And now the Katyushas are just bombarding the entire northern sector of the map. And there we go, finally getting a fuel cache after so long. But bloody damn time. That really should not have taken that long. Also, that mortar half-track is going to need repairs before it is too late.
Enemy forces are neutralizing a sector.
And a fragmentation bombing run. And hitting the dirt will not save you from fragmentation bombs.
We destroyed the target. Fuck!
So, well taken their opportunity. And the mortar half-track is down. He did not repair it swiftly enough. And his pioneers almost got wiped out in the process as well. Sageofthesix is another one a bit on the back foot. And a munitions cache going out, so probably going to support those for fragmentation bombing runs. That's definitely not a bad idea. I mean, well placed, they can really do a lot of havoc to Sageofthesix and deny him of units, in particular the vet. Lots of rockets everywhere, comrades. Still, that veteran conscript squad lost is going to be a bit of a blow to Sageofthesix. I had not expected fragmentation bombs to be that effective, Comrade Stalin. Please don't send me to Gulag. Su-85s being rolled around. They're not really tanks, of course. There's a bit more problem using them reactively like this. But Bosotora really shouldn't be playing around with his Panzer IV like that. And there we go, Veteran 2 Su-85 jumping already there. down to half health. He needs to pop smoke, and there we go. A huge billowing cloud appears, and then it proceeds to, not really do much about make a 180-degree turn, wasting any time. He might have gained. So there we go, not really well handled uses of his Panzerfear. Panzergun is there making a rushed blob assault right against the point here, trying to cut off, but it's getting stopped with the Maxim. Fighting down south here, in fact, fighting is all of a sudden intensifying rather aggressively. Troops hitting the dirt. Still got the 2 Katyushas, and they're about to fire away. As we report, another conscript squad has been lost, likely down here to the Panzer Grenadiers there. So many rockets. And making a rush straight after the Katyushas. Also spotting the fuel cache right there, definitely ruining that. Could hurt Sageofthesix a bit. Though only a bit, really.
Our territory is falling into enemy hands.
And H-85 providing fire support for the Guards infantry. Moving into heavy cover, but also within range, I believe, of the Guards infantry, so that could backfire on the Panzer Grenadiers if they're not careful. But there we go, in fact, within range, and it did, in fact, backfire in France. More conscript squads on the way. A Guards infantry squad on the way as well, so Sageofthesix is now getting very desperate to fill his ranks with infantry, which will, of course, rather give some indicator of he rather realizes what's going on and what needs to be done.
We have more conscripts at our disposal.
Could be we're seeing another cache go up here. Yes, in fact, a second munition cache, so clearly Mr. Bosotora is realizing that he's quite fond of the fragmentation bombing runs. In fact, he's got for another there, and that could in fact be used quite well to defend his points. And there we go. Will Sageofthesix realize what's going on this time around? And this time around he did manage it in time. Huge cluster of fragmentation bombs blew up the ground, but nothing else. And looks like he can get a Tiger. Will he actually go for the Tiger tank? Will he go for it? Is that his grand decision? Or is he just going to be floating an awful lot of manpower and an awful lot of fuel? Come on, man, make a decision. And there you go. In fact, Tiger tank has arrived. Panzerkampfwagen 6. And there you go. The Pioneers getting some press north. Not really sure the Tiger was a good move.
Fragmentation enemy is taking our territory.
Since while he does have impressive frontal armor, its gun is currently less than impressive, its speed is neither impressive either, nor is its range. And that sends a pair of H-85s can easily take it down because it simply can't get close enough and do enough damage enough before the H-85 simply pulls away. And of course it doesn't really do much against infantry either. I mean, that's the silly thing about the Tiger tank. Currently it's just not very useful. And there we go, we are seeing shots bouncing off. Shot after shot, but again, can the Tiger actually do anything in this range? No, it can't. And of course, it has to stay at range from the conscript, otherwise it's going to get up with a damaged engine. Oh, trying to Molotov the pack. That was a bit silly. I would have figured an anti-tank grenade, which would have made it even easier for the H-85 to deal with the Tiger tank. So that was actually a rather odd set of priorities right there from Sageofthesix. Not what I would expect it at all. Now, in fact, we are seeing the Tiger tank being sent in after the H-85s. Which I suspect is not going to end well. And as it catches those Katyushas, pack moving up as well. Several packs, in fact. Tiger tank misses, but still managed to do a bit of damage to a splash. He could try and call in a fragmentation bombing run right here, but no. There we go, Tiger Tank moving up. Going to deal with the veteran one first, that's good, but you know, point the frontal armor towards them. And there we go, Tiger Tank already down to half health. Getting blasted with the anti-tank. Rival conscripts moving up. Fragmentation bomb going down in defense. And there we go, Tiger Tank almost down. In fact, wiped out by the Katyushas. And ultimately, again, the Tiger just... it simply lacks the firepower to really be worth it. Which ultimately also means that its huge toughness becomes wasted because it can't do anything with it. Since basically the main gun is worse than that of a Panzer IV, since it shoots slower and is less effective against infantry. So I mean, basically, at the current moment, it's just not really worth it going for the Tiger Tank. No matter how much you'd like it to be, sadly.
Fragmentation bombers now available.
But we do see that Sageofthesix has been pushed back into his base, more or less, but again, they cost the chief for doing so. Again, a Tiger Tank which cost a lot of fuel and manpower. I don't really think that was worth it. We also see that this HC-5 has actually been abandoned, interestingly enough. Very close eventually to this Katyusha. That was actually very bad news for Bosotora, not Sageofthesix for him. That would be pretty good news. Another fragmentation bombing run. He's certainly quite fond of those. Catching a conscript squad up north. Actually using them quite well. And you might say, why again? I mean, there's something about attention. About your opponent's attention when you're using such abilities. When you call in such ability, I mean, he's probably going to get some idea. What you want to do is you don't go for the most obvious target. What you go for is to sort of... I mean, if you look across the map and you see some units, you know, far away from where, for example, you have some current fighting going on, that unit is actually going to be a better target because your opponent is less likely to be able to react and save that unit in time. And for example, with a fragmentation bombing run, that means you can actually wipe out that squad. So in that sense, sometimes the best use of your ability is not the most obvious target, as that is what is in the thickest of the fighting. It's usually where your opponent's probably not really thinking much about. In that case, that unit up here was the perfect target. So of course, there's something to that as well.
To go with fragmentation bombs. The enemy is taking our territory.
It was the same thing in the first game, Company Heroes. Usually the best place to drop a howitzer strike was on the unit you figured your opponent wasn't quite paying attention to. Bundled grenades, which was actually effective back then, also that sort of thing, or assault. I mean, all those sort of things, usually better off your opponent wasn't quite paying attention. But the less chance of him reacting actually in time and thus being unable to save the unit. So, little fun facts there, little fun tips. You should always try and factor in your opponent's attention as well into your plans, because he can't pay attention to every part of the map, in particular if he's already engaged in combat. But of course the exact same thing applies to you, so sometimes the trick is to sort of keep an eye on things not quite in combat as well, just to check if he's trying anything there. There we go, Veteran 2 guards him to going up against the Veteran 3 Pentagon. It's the Pentagon doing by the camera. Grenade! Oh, almost wipes out the squad. And here's the thing, all of the Veteran C Pentagon gets doesn't do anything against grenades. So in that sense, Pentagon is still very vulnerable to such things. And there we go, Panzerschrecks. I mean, that's a bit late as well. I mean, a lot of the things he's getting, you know, are quite late. Doctrine, halfway through the game. Panzerschrecks. We're almost close to being an hour into the game, and first then he gets Panzerschrecks. I mean, with all those Panzer grenades, it just seems odd. I mean, there's a lot of odd choices from Bosotora, a lot of them which don't make sense, and I always almost get the impression he's going for another Tiger Tank. Still, I mean, he's able to do a lot of pressure, a lot of damage to Sageofthesix, but I do feel it's not necessarily that efficient. It's rather by a razor's edge.
Schützen here!
Pioneers getting blasted by the Maxim up north. Poundy still runs straight at it, knowing that Sage of the Six has a Maxim up here. That's actually a bit of a poor choice. But as opposed to nothing that Sage of the Six is actually complaining about. But definitely getting a lot of the munitions since he's holding 2 caches and both munitions points on the map. Which basically means within about 3 minutes every time, he's got another fragmentation bombing run ready. Which is not that bad.
Shit, they're shooting at us!
2nd Panzer Grenadier Squad arrives on the scene.
Enemy forces are securing our territory.
Making this a bit of a close quarters scramble, which the Panzer Grenadiers with their assault rifles will win. But we do see a swift and determined response, and just lots of rockets being poured into it, tearing up Panzer Grenadiers left and right. While we're seeing an assault going up center here, but being held up by another Panzer squad, and veterancy free for this H-85, and we're seeing a direct assault by the looks of it. He's just charging in. Panzer Grenadiers doing what they can from the flanks. Pack firing away as well. You could see at least one H-85 go down, which would be good news for Bosotora, less good for Sage of the Six. And we see another Tiger tank perhaps able to call in. And there we go, of course, no veteran fleet is going to be very difficult to damage. And certainly a lot harder to take down. And there we go, a 2nd Tiger tank has arrived. H-85 down to half health. Pack needs to get up faster. There we go, shots bouncing off the Tiger's frontal armor for now. At the same time, we're noting that all of Sage of the Six infantry is moving towards the other victory points, while the H-85's keeping Bosotora's main force occupied. He might want to actually target weak point with a pack. And there we go. H-85 down, Panzer Grenadiers got it with a puncher strikes, but the victory points are falling again. This was a diversion. He sacrificed those H-85 to basically get the point and take down Bosotora that way. A clever move, We are seeing a fragmentation bombing run going in here. And he does get the squad, but not before it's wiped clean. Will Sage of the Six bold gamble actually work off? Will it work, having sacrificed all of those H-85s? Panzer Grenadiers are getting wiped out as well. In fact, an entire squad just got murdered. And there's barely an infantry left. In fact, both sides are heavily exhausted. There's still a Tiger tank, but that's going to need repairs. Of course, there's nothing to really stop it anymore. There's a single pack crewed by some conscripts, but that's it. If you can get that Tiger tank repaired quickly, he could get them out, and even then it might be able to do something, but we are seeing lots of infantry being rushed in. Sage of the Six is going in all or nothing. This is his last gamble, his last move. Can he pull it off? Definitely bold, and that is what we like. At least that's what I like. I don't know about you, my dear viewers. But things are definitely getting tense.
Enemy is taking our territory.
Points are ticking down. Panzer Grenadier squad almost wiped out. In fact, both squads are... one actually did go down. Bad news. And there we go, making a move for points again. Maxim continues to watch over this. No attempt at actually clearing out with, say, that Tiger tank. Just when even wounded could sort that out. Oh, Bosotora, you made a few vital mistakes.
Our lines of supply are disrupted.
We got it!
And there we go, the Tiger tank rushes out.
Panzer Grenadiers standing by.
And there we go, bombarding the center. Tiger tank advances. Looks like it's going straight for the Katyusha, but at the same time, points are ticking down. The points need to be taken. Ach du lieber. And the other point is being held rather contentiously by Guardian Fleet. The Tiger needs to go for either the point, but he's going after the Katyusha. Bosotora has lost sight of all priorities. Ach du lieber. The Oberkommando des Heeres will not like this, but there you go. Game over. A loss of Bosotora on the 18th Panzergrenadier Division. Several times it was close, but ultimately he fumbled. Partly through not quite as solid armor usage as he could have. The Tiger tank again, just not worth it, ladies and gentlemen. Again, until there's a patch that actually buffs the main gun, the Tiger is simply not worth it. I'm afraid so, ladies and gentlemen. I hate to say it, but that's the fact. Unless someone actually proves me wrong, I'm going to stick to that. And I would certainly love to be proved wrong on that account. I mean, the Panzergrenadier rush was nice, but again, he ultimately couldn't take quite advantage of it. And again, he lost steam halfway through the match, partly through not using his doctrine at all. Again, that should not have happened, but also simply for floating so much manpower, not spending up towards Cassius or anything else. I mean, really, Bosotora fumbled halfway through, and that allowed Sageofthesix to really get back with a vengeance. Of course, Sageofthesix had some clever moves, good mining, and that last assault there, which absolutely threw Bosotora off, occupied most of his force, and allowed Sageofthesix to make a last move towards all the victory points. Really paid off and probably won him the game. So well played there by Sageofthesix. But again, Bosotora could have done better, and Sageofthesix definitely could have been better with his Sageofthesixes as well. So there you go. Hope you enjoyed this match. Hope you learned something from it. If you did, why not subscribe, tell your friends. If you didn't, well, why not send a replay of your own? Provide some feedback in the comments. This is Imperial Dane saying cheers.